Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor, and this week we are doing the pink hibiscus. We will be doing this project in 7 steps. Now this project, I just want to give you guys a heads up, lots of layers. It's basically just layering values on top of each other to create form. That's not a brand new idea, but it does take some time and patience, so putting that out there. So our very first step is we will be doing our light pink wash on our petals. Our second step is we will be doing our light green wash on our leaves. Our third step is we will be putting in our medium values in our flowers, specifically in the center, and then also kind of defining some of these wrinkles on our petals. Our fourth step is we will be putting in our medium values on our leaves. Our fifth step, we will be painting our stamen. Our sixth step, we will be putting in the darkest values on our petals and our leaves. And then our very last step is splatters. We will be using 5 paint colors for this project. So our first one is lemon yellow. Our second one is leaf green. Our third one is azure blue. Our fourth one is magenta, and our very last one is pink. 5 colors. We're using our in-house paint brand, which is Dandelion Paint Co. They're liquid watercolors, which means they're super vibrant. That's one of my favorite things to paint with liquid watercolors is flowers, because flowers are just colorful and we can really celebrate vibrancy and color with this. We will be using 2 paintbrushes, around 6 and around 2. This is the Princeton Heritage series. You can also use the Let's Make Art Classic series, or really whatever paintbrushes you have at home. But I would say that these 2 are our most used projects for our watercolor projects. We are using LMA watercolor paper, which is a cold press 140-pound watercolor paper. And I am using Holbein soft tape to tape it down. There we go. That's my supplies spiel.
Nice.
Oh, Keenan, did I introduce you?
Keenan's here.
Keenan is here working cameras.
Thank you for
It's
coming
not
today.
about you, Keenan.
I'm not here for the show, Sarah. I'm just here for moral support.
Okay, that's right. You're my art cheerleader.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do our outline, and then we'll do our oath, and then we'll get to painting. Okay? So for our outline here, I have this drawn out. I taped it to my watercolor paper, and then I'm going to take my graphite paper, do dark shiny side down, and then taking a pen or pencil, I'm going to outline it. Now I'm going to use this Jelly Roll pen because it's a colored pen, which is wonderful because then I'll be able to know what lines I've put in there. Now, I usually say the same thing about graphite paper. I have a little spiel. The biggest things you need to know. If you press down hard, your lines will be darker. If your lines are too dark, they will show up through your watercolors because watercolor is transparent. So all you need to do is adjust the pressure of what you're pressing down hard as, so to control how dark the lines are. Other things to know. Graphite paper is not the only way to transfer images onto a watercolor paper. For me personally, it's the simplest. It's what I do with my own work. I like graphite paper better than light boxes. However, that is not the case for everybody. So if you are really struggling with graphite paper, don't we sell a light pad for like 20 bucks on our website? Just get a light pad, and a lot of people like that a lot better and is a better, like, easier experience for them. So that is a suggestion. And when it comes to outlines, I provide outlines for you guys because I do not want the inexperience of drawing to stop you from experiencing the joy of painting. So I provide outlines for you, but don't think of them like a coloring book. You guys can go off script here, okay? The other thing is the majority of where I get my reference photos from are from like photography commercial free websites. Sometimes I'll combine photos. Sometimes I'll just use, if I liked the composition of the photograph, I'll use it. Just make sure if you are using a photograph as your reference that you have permission.
You know who takes amazing photography pictures?
Who?
Michael Cray.
Yeah, my husband. I've actually used a couple of his pictures for my, so like in my personal work outside of Let's Make Art, I like to paint, obviously. And I did a landscape collection and I used a couple of his reference photos of Missouri for my landscape collection. Cool. And they're just so beautiful.
Love me some Michael Cray.
Me too. He's my favorite.
Did you mention that graphite paper gets better with age?
I did not. So
it's like a really cheap wine. I don't know wine.
That's not true.
Oh.
So with graphite paper, if you're a subscriber, you get a new sheet every month. But if you have like multiple boxes, use the same sheet. Just like pick a graphite paper sheet and let that be your one, because it does get better with age, as in the graphite wears off on the paper over time, which makes it not as sensitive, which makes it way easier to use over time, because then you're not getting like the accidental like hand fingerprints and the lines aren't as dark and all of that stuff. So reuse your same sheet of graphite paper.
Hate leaving fingerprints behind.
Me too.
Get you in all kinds of trouble in the wrong spots.
Okay. And then there are probably moments where you are going to miss a line or a section when you are tracing and outlining. Don't stress. Just eyeball it once you discover it.
That should be on a shirt, Sarah.
What?
Just eyeball it.
Just eyeball it. Okay, now we lift up and see. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Also, I want to say there is nothing more devastating than when you think that you're tracing your outline and then you lift up your paper and it's totally clean because your graphite paper was backwards. It's happened to me so many times. But not today.
Not today, graphite paper.
And if you're not sure, oh, I forgot to say this about the watercolor paper. Make sure you're painting on the rougher side, more textured side, okay? All right, now let's do our oath. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Oh, Keenan. Keenan.
My hand slipped. I realized I had to have better timing. I had to look at you and not, I couldn't look at the bell and you.
You know what? It's okay. Let's move on.
Okay.
It's fine.
I'm really sorry, guys.
I feel like you have like 2 jobs. Make sure the cameras are on. Hit that bell.
Hit the bell. I'm not sure if you're saying I have a lot of responsibility or so little that I should have been able to hit the bell.
Well, that's for us to know and you don't have to worry about.
I'll just be here.
Okay. Let's get started. So we're on our very first step, which is we are putting in our lightest wash on our hibiscus. Am I saying that right?
What if it says hibiscus?
You know how sometimes you think a word is a word and then you say it too much and then you're like, wait.
Hibiscus?
Is that a word? Hibiscus?
Hibiscus.
Stop messing with me. Okay. I'm going to take my round 6. I'm going to get it wet. I'm going to hit it off the side of the cup so it's not dripping wet. I'm going to pour more pink into my palette because it disappeared.
The thing about the studio is there's a gravity issue.
It's uneven. The butcher tray palettes are amazing unless you're on an uneven surface. Then they're a little bit tricky. Okay, so I'm taking my pink. Now the reason why I like using this pink is because it's naturally a light value color. So you can build on it really easy. So I got my pink and I'm gonna go petal by petal and I'm gonna put this pink in. I'm gonna start on the edge of the petals and then use water to spread that color out. Now what we're putting in here is our lightest values, our highlights. So we will be putting in darker values, more layers of color, and we're gonna, when we do put that in, we will not paint over some areas so this layer can shine through. Okay.
That is a pleasant color.
Isn't it? It's just like a really pretty light value color.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not like, because being able to get used to like how much paint and water ratio you should have on your brush to create like different values is tricky. It takes some time and practice to learn. And so it's nice when you're using paint colors that already like are a light value, because even at their strongest or most concentrated, they're gonna stay light, I guess I should say. I don't know, I feel like it makes it a little bit easier when you're just starting out to do a first layer. Now, it's okay if there is a little bit of a stronger color, like you see how my edges are a little bit darker.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay because our center and our edges are going to be like the darkest part on our petals. So if you are gonna have a darker part, then keep it like on the edges.
And that's just to convey shape?
What, the darker?
Yeah, the darker edges.
Well, the edges are a little bit darker. Well, the center is darker because it's going in, right?
Yeah.
It's going away from the light, and the color is a little bit darker. And then the edges are darker because if you think of the texture of a hibiscus flower, it's like tissue paper. And the petals are so wavy, and they have these little wrinkles in them where they kind of overlap a little bit, and they're really thin. And when they overlap and wrinkle, you will see, because there's two layers, it's a darker value.
Ah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And avoid painting your stamen. The stamen is the center. We will be painting that halfway through, but you're gonna have to paint around it. If you still have your masking fluid pen or marker that we used previously, you can mask that area off if you want, especially doing the little dots. I'm just gonna paint around it.
That would be such a useful tool for that.
Yeah, super helpful. Now, because this is my first layer, I'm working quickly. I know that this is not the final one. I don't need to be too specific about this at this stage yet because it's just starting to be something, so give it a chance. Okay, now we're gonna move on to step 2. We are going to do our light green wash on our leaves. So I'm just gonna take leaf green, and this one I'm gonna add water to because I want to lighten up this value. And you'll see that it's like a really yellow green, like very yellow green, like a chartreuse almost.
Sarah, you know what we should have been doing this entire years of filming? We should have created challenges for one another that we had to use one specific word throughout the entire tutorial. like we had to use it as a descriptive word in as many ways as we could.
There's no time like the present, Keenan.
Okay, let me think of how we'd do that. Should we do like a total number?
Okay, this is what we should do.
Okay.
We, before we start filming, should pick a word for each other.
Okay.
And we'll decide how many times we have to use it in that tutorial.
Okay.
And then the people watching have to guess what they think the word is.
Ooh.
Our magic word. And they'll have to comment and be like, Sarah's word is chartreuse. You know what I'm saying?
Charcuterie. That would be amazing.
That would be so
Okay, we'll do
fun.
that next tutorial then.
Okay.
That's going to be excellent.
It would be funny too if we also used like word of the day app and that was the That was how we found our word.
Okay, but here's my question. What if we
Okay.
don't know the word?
We have to look it up.
Yeah, but like, what if
We have Steve.
Okay, even though we have Steve, sometimes I don't know how to use a word, especially I've just learned it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. You know what I really struggle with, and this is probably not news to you guys, is I really have a hard time pronouncing new words.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to
Like
read.
hibiscus?
Or I was saying azure wrong.
Oh, yes,
And
azure.
sepia.
Uh-huh.
Because here's the thing, I love to read. I read a lot. The problem with reading is you never hear the word. So you know the word, you know the correct usage of the word, but you don't know how to say the word out loud. One time I said stoic instead of stoic. And it was very embarrassing because I was like really serious. And I'm like, why are you so stoic? And I'm like, oh
What
my
a great
gosh.
question to ask somebody.
I'm like,
Why
are you
so
okay? You seem very stoic. That's not how you say that word. It's just. And then I look like a fool,
That
like I
is
don't know what I'm
so
talking
funny.
about. Ugh.
That's okay. I misused a word to describe a vehicle that I really liked one time, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word here.
Why is it a bad word?
It's not a bad word. It just means, well, if kids are watching, they'll ask what it means.
Yeah, don't.
It's not a vehicle description word, just to be clear.
Okay, when we are done filming, you're gonna have to tell me what this.
You might know, you might have heard this.
I feel like I've heard this story, but
If you're an adult and you're listening and you want to know the word, just email us. And I'll let you know.
hello@let'smakeart.com. Okay, that was step 1 and 2. We're flying through. That was a rhyme. Okay, we're gonna move on to step 3. We are going to start putting in our medium values. So I'm still gonna use my 6. However, if you feel more comfortable using your round 2 because we're painting in smaller areas, go for it. So I'm gonna rinse my brush, make sure there's no more green on my brush, and I'm gonna grab magenta. And using magenta, I'm gonna paint the center of my flowers, and I have the center kind of outlined. But the one thing I want you guys to know is even though there's an outline, do not follow it like a coloring book, which means I want you to blend out. So after I put in that color, I'm gonna get my brush wet and blend out this color so it's a smooth transition from dark to light. And if you have no idea how to do that, we have an entire beginner series where I go over how to do value transitions.
Be prepared for a change of scenery.
Oh yeah,
when
that
you
was
watch those.
our old filming studio. We've had a few different. It's been a ride, you know.
It has been.
And I'm just gonna drop in a little extra color here. And then where I kind of put the lines, like the wrinkle lines,
I love this part.
I'm gonna put those in. Now what I like to do is I do a couple and then I rinse my brush and kind of blend them out. Like this, soften them a little bit. Now when you're thinking about like the direction the wrinkles go, they're all gonna kind of go towards the center. Does that make sense? So as I make my way around this petal, this line kind of keeps curves to the center no matter what side it's on. Okay. All right, and we're just gonna repeat that across all of my petals here. So I'm gonna start with the center. Rinse your brush, use water to blend that out. Okay. And then start putting in the wrinkles. So I'm just kind of following the lines, and then I'm going to rinse my brush and just use water to blend. kind of reminds me of our seashell project.
Oh, totally. I do love those detail lines, though. Just really bring it together for me.
They're nice, huh? What I also love about like flowers in this type of project, and especially like if you think of a hibiscus, there are so many different colors. Like I lived in Hawaii for a couple of years and there's hibiscus everywhere. I was just trying to think if the plural of a hibiscus is hibisci. That can't be right. Right? That's not right.
That's what I was going to tell you, so it can't be right.
But I just remember like there were some that were like this orange, like so orange and yellow with different colored centers. And like, I don't know, like you can take this same outline, you guys, and change up the colors. You know what I mean? Like you have the freedom to do that. I just really wanted to celebrate like pink this month. I don't know if you can tell, but like our theme for this month is tropical magic. And I just think of like blues and bright pinks and greens and yellows. Okay, now we're on this back one. Now the back one is a little bit tricky just because we're trying to avoid the stamen. So you just have to paint around it.
I didn't respond to your using pink comment because I was looking up the plural term for hibiscus.
Yeah.
And also how to pronounce hibiscus.
Yeah.
It is hibiscus.
Hibiscus.
With a ch, you have to roll the H. Hibiscus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you messing with me?
No, why would I do that?
Keenan, I can never trust you.
But then it is hibiscuses.
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 I still don't trust you.
Hibiscuses.
I just feel like you're trying
It's not hibisci.
I feel like you're just trying to make me look like a fool all the time. Okay. Hibiscus. Now I know that he's messing with me.
That was it. That was perfect.
I put you in a position of trust and authority here.
No, of power.
Okay, and it's at this point where we're gonna see that our flower is starting to take a little bit of form. You see that?
Yes.
It feels a little bit more dimensional. I have different values. I can understand the shape, where after our first step, it looked really flat and a little bit wonky. So congratulations. This part, when it starts to emerge three-dimensionally, is one of my favorite times in a painting because it's fun, you know?
Agreed.
Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on our leaves. Now, when it comes to the leaves, I want to point something out. One, I kept them fairly loose. And what I did is you can see some lines here. Those are the areas that we're going to paint around. So, for example, like if you're looking at this leaf, the lighter values are kind of more where the veins are. So the veins aren't going to be darker. The veins are going to be lighter, which means we're going to paint around them, okay? So how we're going to do that is I'm going to, gosh, all of my colors just mixed together. Let's see what color this is. That's blue. Let's get some green. Nope, not enough. It's my fault. It's my fault that the floor is crooked.
That's true. It is your fault that the floor is crooked. I'm glad you said that.
I'm taking responsibility. Okay, so I'm gonna mix my azure blue and my leaf green together to get a more vibrant green. And I'm just going to paint in sections using the side of my 6. And you're gonna leave, see how I'm kind of leaving the chunks for the veins? You see that?
Kind of.
See? Chunk, chunk.
Yes. That's what you meant by chunk.
That's what I mean by chunk. By chunk, I mean thin line. Wow, sorry you guys. Okay, and then I'm also going to leave the center vein white too, or like paint around it. But again, I'm keeping this really, really loose. And then I'm gonna rinse my brush and kind of like blend out to the edges here. Now, if you accidentally paint over your veins, that's not a huge deal. There we go. Okay, and I'm just gonna do the same thing on all of them. So I'm painting in chunks between the thin veins.
Got it. So we know that there are veins of a leaf, and we call them veins. What is the part that is not a vein? Is that just the leaf?
I have no idea.
What is the leaf comprised of, Sarah?
The flesh.
The flesh.
I really don't know.
I don't either. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. Also, like these leaves overlap one with another. Like this one, I didn't do a lot of detail because I wanted it to feel like the leaf is underneath everything and farther away. So I kind of just did like a green mass. You see that right here on the reference photo. And also, like, you guys can adjust this as well. So if you wanted to do less leaves or more, if you wanted to add a full background, like you totally can.
I was wondering about that actually, because I was thinking you could do a light, a barely there color wash, but I didn't know what color would be good to go with this.
Do you know what might be cool is if you almost did a sunset in the background. So it's like the sunset and the flowers poking out from a bush, and you can like picture just that flower coming out with that sky in the background.
I like that.
Almost like the background that we use for our tropical trees.
Yes.
Now what's tricky with that is you just have to like paint around.
In the small spaces.
Yeah, but if you have a masking pen, that's totally doable.
Can you put a masking pen on something you've painted and then take it off without removing the paint?
Yeah, we did that with the Fireflies project.
Oh, that's right, the layers.
Yep.
O-M goodness.
The answer is yes, Keenan.
I just had an idea. You could even make it look like bugs have been eating the leaves of this hibiscus.
I love that idea.
Wouldn't that be so cool?
That would be so cool. Because the other thing about tropical places, lots of bugs.
Lots of bugs.
When we lived, I remember when we lived in Hawaii, we had to put everything in the fridge and freezer or else bugs will get it. I mean everything, like cereal.
No way.
Yeah.
Bread?
Yep.
Gross.
Everything. I don't know if all the places are like that, but that's where we lived. That's what we needed to do to keep it
away from the bugs?
Away from all the bugs, the ants. And no way could you leave dishes in the sink. Like, I love this leaf right here.
That leaf is especially good.
Like, that's a good one. That's a good leaf.
If I were to choose which of these leaves were my favorite, it'd be that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too. I just love how drapey it is, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, nice serrated edge.
Thank you. Okay, we're almost done here. And then this one, I'm just going to do kind of like green. I'm gonna use some water though to kind of like spread it out. There we go. Okay, that was step 3. Now we're gonna move on. Oh, that was step 4. Now we're gonna move on to step 5. We're gonna do our stamen. And we have a little fly friend. What should we name him, Keenan?
Well, I thought you were gonna say that this is spelled like Stamos, like, you know?
John?
John Stamos?
Isn't that his name?
I don't remember, I think so.
Okay.
So we're gonna name the fly John.
Okay, John. John's
Right?
flying around
John
here.
Stamos?
He just, is that his name?
Now I'm questioning it, because I thought,
Look it up, look
I thought
it
it
up.
was Jeff or Jason,
No, no way is it Jeff.
Jerry,
No,
Gary,
nope.
John Stamos. John Stamos. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
it?
That's it. That's got to be it.
Okay. So,
I googled John Stamps on accident. It is John. Well
so
done.
our fly's name is John. He's just hanging out. He just wants to be a part of it. I get it.
He's one of the more attractive men I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I guess flies are pretty cute. Okay, so I'm gonna mix. I want to do like an orange gold color. Keenan's literally just flashing me pictures of how handsome John Stamos is.
I mean, even when he had long hair and a mullet.
Yeah. Okay, Keenan, we're here to paint.
Well, we should do a John Stamos month. From childhood to adulthood.
Full house theme.
Full house theme, that'd be so funny.
Okay, so I mixed my magenta and my yellow together to get kind of like this gold orange, okay? So I'm going to use my round 6 and using this kind of gold orangey color, I'm gonna put in my stamen. And then I'm going to use my round 2, get a little bit darker orange, like just add a little bit more magenta. And then on the left-hand side of the stamen, put in that darker edge, just to give it a different value, a different hue. Okay, and then using yellow, I'm gonna put in my little circles.
Our buddy, a little buddy John was just hanging out in the pink paint.
John's here.
I want to point him out every time he's in camera.
Okay. Now I'm not going to do the thin lines to connect these dots just yet. Okay? We're not there just yet. So that was step 5. Now we're moving on to step 6, where this is where we're going to start putting in our darker values. Now, on my reference photo here, I kind of added a little bit of warmth to my pink. You see how there's like a hint of orange on some of these? I really loved that, so I'm going to put that in. So I'm going to take my magenta and warm it up by grabbing a little bit of this orange color, which kind of mixes into like this really pretty peach. And I'm going to go along the wrinkles and put this color in. And then just use water to blend it out. See how it just brings like a hint of warmth? You don't have to do it on every single wrinkle. You can just do it on some. Because I like that there's both. I like that there's a stronger pink, and I like that there is like some warmer colors.
Gives us some variety.
Yeah. And then what I'm doing here is I feel like the edges just need to be a little bit darker. So I'm just kind of doing a wash with some pink paint on my brush. Now I want to keep this center area the lightest value, okay? So I'm not going to be touching that middle. We're going to do the same thing on these other areas. Now we'll go back in on that one we just painted. I'll go back in on all of these and put in, once it dries, a little bit darker value. And there's some like edges here. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like this chunk right here is actually the side of the petal like kind of flipped up. So we'll go back and address that. It's the same right here and right here. So there's just little edges that I've just been kind of leaving blank. We'll go back to them, don't you worry.
What's your earliest memory of John Stamos?
Probably him on Full House with baby Michelle.
Baby Michelle?
When Michelle was a little baby.
Who's Michelle?
Have you watched Full House?
No.
Oh, she's the youngest daughter.
Oh.
What about you?
Probably when I watched the movie Step Brothers, and they said something about John Stamos, I had to Google him.
Oh, so you don't even,
He's just a gorgeous man. I've heard his name since then, but that was like 8 years ago.
So you didn't really watch Full House?
No.
So all these references, you're like, oh, I don't really know
Full
what
House.
that means.
Classic. Is Full House the one with the twins?
Well, they're not twins in the show.
Oh.
But both actresses played that character.
What? It's one character?
So
They're not in the show together as twins?
No.
What is... Why?
Well, because I would assume that when you're filming a show and there's kids involved, it's so great, especially young kids, to have two of the same.
What you're saying now makes sense.
Yeah.
I have always thought that they were both in that show.
No. They have
because they're twins.
They have older sisters, but the twins, the people, what are their names?
Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Mary-Kate and Ashley. They play the same character in that show.
Wow. Did you know their sister is one of my favorite Marvel characters?
Yes. Well, no, but I'm not surprised.
Her name's Wanda.
WandaVision?
WandaVision is so good.
I haven't seen it.
I know.
And the reason why Kane and I are talking about movies right now is because I'm literally just repeating the same step over and over again. So what I did on that first and second petal, I'm doing on all of them.
It's like a bike, pedal by pedal.
Yeah, pedal by pedal. Oh, I love that little hint of peach that I brought in there.
Me too. Really brought it together. Gave us that variety we needed.
Yeah. I'm going to do it a little bit more.
Speaking of variety.
Yeah.
Favorite kind of donut? Go.
Chocolate bar.
Chocolate bar?
No, just a chocolate bar.
Chocolate bar?
I paused because in Missouri they refer to bars as Long Johns.
Oh. Oh yeah, that's my favorite too.
So
Filled or not filled?
Not filled. I'm not a filled donut person.
I could go either way, honestly.
So you like chocolate Long Johns?
Yes. That was the one I always asked for growing up from Sweet Al's, which at the time was really great.
Okay. I'm going to go put in my darkest values on my leaves and go back to my flower to put in my darkest values. Because I did another layer of medium values by putting in that like warmth and that yellow. So I'm going to go back into that, but we have to wait for it to dry before I do that. So let's go back to our leaves. And I'm going to mix a darker green. And you mix a darker green by adding a little bit of magenta to your mixture. Because look how great that green is now.
That's
gorgeous. Deep. So then along these like edges here, especially along the center, that's where I'm going to put in this darkest green and then kind of just use a damp brush and blend out. And depending on how wide my veins are, I might just do a quick swoop wash over them on some of them. Because again, our values, our painting informs us as we go, and our values at this point might be too light that they look white compared to that dark green. So if I just do a quick swoop over them, then it kind of like brings it down while still leaving it highlighted, if you want to.
I accidentally killed John. I caught him in my hand.
Can you close your hand?
I closed my hand.
And he didn't try and fly away?
He did.
Oh. He's still alive.
He's alive. I caught him.
Keenan, you should watch your hands.
Why?
Flies carry a lot of things.
Like this conversation on their back?
Yep. So I'm kind of like messing up these sections because it's been feeling a little blocky on my leaves, and I want to kind of like not have it be so blocky. And I'm okay with messiness. I like a little bit of messiness. That's why I love watercolor. So I'm just kind of taking my damp brush after I put in my dark and like just kind of blending things out a little bit, letting things get a little bit loose and messy. I can tell that when I was teaching this, I was a lot more like particular than when I was painting it. Is that funny?
That is funny. But it makes sense.
Maybe what I'll do too, sometimes I just love putting in like a strong yellow in my green, like just doing a swoop of yellow and putting that in there. Oh, that feels really nice. Look how bright that yellow is.
Or a swoop of blue.
Yeah. Let yourself play. I love painting leaves because I really feel like I have so much freedom when it comes to color. I just really love this like strong yellow, so I'm gonna put it.
Do you know what's almost more satisfying for me to see in nature? A not perfect flower.
Yeah?
Yes, because there's something about just an absolutely perfect, well-budded flower, but when a flower's just seen some things or been snacked on more by things, it just looks so cool.
Yeah.
So many more textures and colors.
Totally. There we go, that feels good. And then again, just hints of a leaf farther away. It does have a darker value. There we go. And we got to put some stems in. So I'm just gonna like paint in some thin lines on these two, because the other ones are kind of covered up by each other. There we go. Okay, our leaves are done.
They look great.
Now we're gonna go back into our flower and really put in our dark values. So I need to mix a darker value than just the magenta. So I'm gonna take the magenta and I'm gonna take a little bit of yellow too, just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna take a tiny bit of blue. I don't want too much blue because it will turn purple, and I'm not introducing purple to this story. I just need to make it darker. So like, see how dark this is? That's way too dark. that's way too purple. And if I try and put that purple in on my hibiscus, it will feel disjointed. So I need way more magenta. So I got more magenta on my palette, and I just grabbed a tiny bit of that purple that I mixed, and now I have a darker pink. The other thing that you can do is you can add a little bit of green that will desaturate it, that will add a brownness to it. So don't do it too much because we don't want brown, but it will darken that value. And then right along the center, I'm going to put that dark value in. I'm going to do that across all my petals. Let's just see what happens if I add a little bit of green to this. Right at the base, like just right as it's coming out. Right by that stamen. That's where we want the darkest value to be. And then I'm just kind of blending out, but I'm blending down towards my center to keep that value darkest in the center. If I blend up, then that color will move up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm pushing that value, that color back into where I want to keep it dark. Okay. And now using my 2, I'm not going to use that purple because I think I'm still light enough along the edges that I can just use magenta, and I'm just going to go over these lines. And depending on how, like for me, I feel like I have room that I can blend them just a little bit, just soften them up. Yours might be, like if yours is really, really dark, your petals are really dark, then you can just leave your lines and not blend them out. It's up to you. But for me, I feel like I need to soften them just a little bit. And it's at this point where you're feeling like your petals probably feel a little messy and muddy. That's actually okay. When I was looking at the petals of a hibiscus, like they are so fine and wrinkly. Like even the texture of the petal itself has, you know how like tissue paper, like when you crinkle it up and stretch it out, it has that hint of creases.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like that's the same for these like petals. Like they're so fine and so thin that like you do have these different textures. You do have these different layers on them. So we don't want it, it's not like a really thick, smooth petal. There's like different textures and creases along the way. So if that is what you have, that's okay. Now this petal is kind of like on its side. So that's why it's just a little bit. I love like petals that are a little bit on the side though. And then I'm gonna kind of start to define this edge. I'm just gonna outline it. And then just do a really soft wash along that edge right there. And that's it. That's really all I'm not gonna do much more. It's just a hint. Now pay attention to, you're still kind of working around your stamen. And if you get too dark on the edge, like I just put that color there and I'm like, ooh, that was a little bit too dark, just lift. No biggie.
Press and lift.
Now that needs to go on a shirt. Although if you don't say it that way, people probably will have no idea.
No, press and lift.
Press and lift. Cool shirt, bro. You know?
Nice shirt.
We would understand.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
That's really all that matters. Okay. And then I have a little lip on this side. Too. Man, that's a pretty flower.
That is a pretty flower.
I feel like, and I just feel like I need one more layer of darkness right at that center. Just really me being like, no, this is so dark. We got depth here. You have to do it in that voice when you're there.
Creaking?
We go. Yeah. That's looking good. Now all that we have to do is put in our lines to our stamen and then our splatters. That's it. So we're on our very last step. So just using my two, I'm just going to connect thin lines to these dots that I put in from the main stamen. I'm not going to lie, I don't know if my terminology is wrong or right.
Sounds right.
It feels right.
Yeah.
Okay? And then at this point when I was making this project, I got to this place and I was just like, okay, this is a beautiful flower, but it feels like it's missing something. You know, like I was just like, it needs something else. It needs some texture. So we're gonna do splatters.
Oh, yes.
So grab your round 6, grab some magenta, remove anything expensive, and splatter.
Splatters.
So I did small splatters, and then I'm gonna do my stabby splatters.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get my brush nice and wet. This one I'm not gonna hit off the side of the cup too much. I'm gonna grab magenta, get it wet again, and I'm gonna kind of do stabbing motions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And you can do directions too. And then I feel
Have you ever slow-mode rain? Like put your phone to rain dropping off of something and slow motion recorded it?
No.
It is gorgeous, and these stabby motions make me think of it.
Reminds you of it?
Yes.
And that's it.
Beautiful.
That's our hibiscus. Gosh. I love that that has that purple hint in that center.
I do too.
Mixing that.
I like how dark it is.
Me too. I really actually love how my leaves turned out also.
Yeah. The droopy one's still my favorite.
Yeah, that one for sure. All right, let's remove the tape carefully, slowly. You want to peel away from the paper.
Unless you're really trying to get that torn look.
I saw a tip that someone used where they said that if you tear your paper just a little bit, all you have to do is take a spoon
What?
And then on the part that's torn, get a spoon a little bit wet and kind of press, and it won't look as torn. I haven't tried that myself, but I was going through my screenshots on my phone, and because I screenshotted that tip, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to try that. And I haven't yet, but if you guys want to try it, or if you have tried it and it works, let me know.
That is so curious.
Yeah. But I guess it would make sense because, like,
it's pressed.
It's, yeah, and it's like, this is a fibrous.
Yeah. Have you ever watched how paper is made?
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
It's super cool. All right, last peel off. Okay. Ah, it's beautiful. Oh, I love this project. I hope you guys had so much fun with this. I can't wait to see what you guys make. If you're on Facebook, you can join our Facebook group. That's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. If you're on Instagram, you can tag us at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you have fun. I hope you play with color, add those layers, add those values, and build that form. Keenan, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.